guys, and welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a two-parter because the first part, before I actually get into the second part, is going to be a discussion because it's based off of the second part of this video. So, this is past Olivia talking to you from the past about the amount of books readers should read in a month and like the controversy of that, because there's been a lot of that on the book Twitter where people have been criticizing others for reading 7 to 10 books in a month and been criticizing people who don't read as much as a month, and I'm kind of here to talk about that because I have so many thoughts. So first off, as you guys could probably tell from my past wrap-ups, I don't read a lot of books in a month, and I want to. It's a personal goal of mine to read more books in a month, and I just haven't because I don't have the time and I don't have like the actual energy at this part because, again, I'm in senior year of college and like everything's a mess and I'm crazy busy, but like I still carve time out of my way to read, and that was one of my big motivators this semester. But as you guys could tell, there will be like a big there is like a kind of a gap between me and other readers because I don't read as much in a month, and you know what, I'm happy with that because of the fact that reading makes me feel like I am not in my own world, and you know, if I'm too immersed in a world, I'll probably just keep reading a book. But besides that, there are times where I do read a crap ton of books in a month, and as you're going to see from this wrap up, which future me will be in somewhat soon, that is the case for the month of November. I read a ton of books, and you know, there's that whole conversation or, you know, debate on book Twitter and in general on BookTube where people are talking about how if you read 7 to 10 books in a month, you're not fully remembering every plot point. And you know, for some books that are true, because you know, some of the books that I did read this month, I didn't like them. I feel like my reading taste has changed a little bit to this semester specifically, and you know, sometimes I won't forget, I will forget the plot of a book if I didn't like it. So that being said, I think more of the fact that if you read 7 to 10 books a month and you have, let's see, you read 7 books and you liked 3 of them but you didn't like 4 of them, you're probably bound to not remember what those other 4 are about, therefore like faking your way through your review or something. I mean, and again, I'm saying this is not always the case. I don't want to cause a lot of controversy with this. I want to talk about this with you guys, you know, and in my case, this month was a big reading month for me. So, it's kind of hard for me to talk about from like the viewpoint of a reader, just because my reading months, they stagger between reading 3 to 5 books, or in the case of November, probably like 5 to 10. Probably more than 5, but not 10. But I personally try my best to remember the plots of every book that I read, because if I remember them, I'm bound to like remember that I liked them or I didn't like them, and that's basically where I stand on it. Sip the tea. But you know, as I said, I don't think that people should be criticized for the amount of books that they read in a month, because every reader is different and you don't know what they're going through at that point in time. You don't know that they're a college student trying to get through their last semesters before they are thrusted off into the real world. Or you don't know, maybe they've had a lot of trouble that month, or they didn't like a lot of the books that they did read, so they DNF'd them. You know, you don't know what people are going through in their reading lives and their personal lives, so like, why do you feel the need to criticize them? It's not any of your business, really. And granted, people do put that out there on their Twitters, on their booktubes that they have read X amount of books. And, you know, as a booktube community, as a book Twitter community, we should we should raise people up and not bring them down. I really do think that, you know, the amount of books that someone reads in a month, or the amount of books they read in a year, shouldn't really matter. It should be the fact that, you know, they read something that really inspired them and really influenced them that month. And yeah, so I'm going to stop talking about this before I just keep rambling on. So we're going to jump to Future Me with my November wrap-up, which, as you can probably tell, is going to have a ton of books because I read a lot this month. So let's jump over to her. So welcome back. Today I am doing my November wrap-up, and I can't believe it's almost November. I feel like I say this like every month I do a wrap-up, but like I can't believe it's almost the end of November ended. Like, it's ending in like a day at this point of me filming this video. So I thought I'd just get right into it. I read a total of like 7 books, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is a huge deal because I normally read like 3 to 4 books in a month, and you know, now it's 7 books in a month. And I think this month was just an inspirational month for reading for me, even though I shouldn't have been reading because, you know, classes. So I think I'm just going to get right into it. Okay, so the first book that I read in the month of November was a book that I was kind of weary about, even though everybody said they loved it, and I was like, okay, like I might as well give it a try, and plot twist, I loved it. So that is Renegades by Marissa Meyer, and this follows basically 2 groups, the Renegades and the Anarchists. So the Anarchists are basically the people who are against the Renegades. The Renegades are the people who are in power. They have these superpowers like superheroes do, and basically the Anarchists are trying to take down the Renegades. So they send in Nova, who is one of them, and she infiltrates the Renegades, and so it kind of follows from there. And I really enjoy this book. I didn't expect to, because like I started reading it a while ago. Like I read the first like chapter, I was like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this, and I just kept reading, and then I was like, holy shit, I love this book. And so I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I had finished it just in time for the second book, Arch Enemies, to come out, but I have yet to read that and yet to pick that up. The next book that I picked up in the month of November is a ending to a duology, and I bought this in Colorado, but that is Wildcard by Marie Lu, and I was surprised that I didn't really like it as much as I thought I was going to. Warcross, as much as I thought it would. Granted, like the ending disappointed me a little bit. But anyway, I gave it a 4 stars because like I still liked the plot inside of it, and but like the ending was like just really disappointing. Like it just didn't do anything for me. That made me, like, when I finished, I was like, why didn't nobody talk about this in book 2 when it came out? And like, now I know why. Okay, so the next book that I read in the month of November was a book by an author who I had read a book by her before, and I liked it, and I wanted to kind of branch out and read more of her works. So I was like, okay, like, you know, whatever. So I bought this book for cheap, obviously, in Colorado. It was only like $8. And that is Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. And this, I think, is adult, or it might be young adult, but I don't remember. But I bought this because I was like, oh, Rainbow Rowell, like, I love her. I want to read more books by her because I want to read Carry On and then Wayward Sons. But let's just say I hated this book. I absolutely hated it. It was not good at all. It sucked. I'm sorry, but it, like, to be honest, it sucked. Didn't like how our main character pretty much is a tech person, and he works at this company who has this policy on your emails where, like, if you say any of, like, the trigger words or whatever, or the words that, like, will get popped up by, like, a red flag by the tech company, like, you'll get fired. So he ends up reading Beth and Jennifer's emails because they popped up, and then he just keeps reading them, and then he ends up falling in love with Beth. And this book was not good. The romance at the end seemed kind of forced or rushed at the end, and it just wasn't the best. And I just didn't like any of the characters. I did not like Lincoln's mom. His mom was such a bitch. And his sister was such a bitch too. And a lot of the characters that, like, you don't see were assholes, and I just didn't like this book, so that's what I gave it a 3 out of 5. And that's a generous 3 out of 5 at this point. The next book that I read is the middle book in a trilogy that everybody loves, and I was like, okay, you know, I might as well just continue reading this trilogy because I have the rest of it, why not? And that is Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Grishaverse trilogy. And I liked this book, I did, but, like, the beginning I didn't really like as much as I thought it was going to, because it just didn't, like, jump out at me. But then I just decided to keep reading because, like, this book is, like, it feels like an easier read than everything else. And I ended up enjoying it. I liked the ending, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The next book that I picked up, I got sent because I won it in a giveaway from my friend Jen over at Book Syrup, and I decided to finally pick this up because she loves this book, and I was like, okay, sure. And that is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence, and this is an adult fantasy sort of thing, and she told me that at some points there was, like, Harry Potter vibes, so I was like, okay, I'll pick it up, like, why not? And, like, I think my one big issue with this book was the time jump, sort of, because I got so confused. And there was one character that I really hated, and then I ended up really liking her at the end. And then there was one character I really liked who I hated at the end. So that's a thing. But this basically follows where this, like, covenant, or this, like, nunnery, where you are trained to be an assassin, basically. And so there are 4 classes. You are a Red Sister, a Grey Sister, a Holy Sister, and a Mystic Sister. So there are 4 classes, and throughout your training you are taught, like, you move up to each class. So it follows Nona Grey, who she is this child who was in a jail because she killed this person, and then one of the nuns ends up sneaking her out and bringing her to the Sisters of Sweet Mercy, or the Covenant of Sweet Mercy, and they train her to be a assassin, basically. And she learns that she might or might not be part of the Chosen One's, like, prophecy. I don't know. So yeah, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. This is great, and I can't wait to read Grey Sister, which is the second book that's already out by Mark Lawrence, and I can't wait. Alright, the next book, there was a reason why I picked it up, because I wanted something very, like, real and cutesy before I picked up the last book, because I was not emotionally ready for the last book that I read. In the last book that I read in this wrap-up. So I wanted to pick up this book because my friends have told me, and I've seen reviews of this book, where it really hits you in the gut. And I really wanted to read it because, like, I heard it was like a Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and I wanted to read it because, you know, I like books about, like, fanfiction writers and shit because I used to be one, and it just hits me home. So that book is Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia, and this is basically about Eliza, who she creates this famous comic online called A Monstrous Sea, and she's anonymous, so nobody knows it's her, and she has so many followers, and then this new guy comes to her school who is a major fan of her her work, and he basically, they become friends, and he basically reveals to her that he writes fan fiction for her thing, but he doesn't know it's her. So it's pretty cool. And I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 5 stars, obviously, because I love like something like this, and plus I needed something very light-ish, but it wasn't really light as I was expecting, because it dealt with like a lot of like emotional things, so it didn't emotionally prepare me for this next book that I'm about to share with you. And the last book that I've read in the month of November is a book that I've been waiting all month to read because it came out this month or the end of last month, I don't remember, and I was avoiding spoilers like the plague. And this next book is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, and it is the last book in the Throne of Glass series. Here is the deal. I was reading this book, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to be emotionally ready for anything. And so there were some points where I was crying because I was either sad that certain things happened, or I was happy for certain characters, and just it made me happy. But I was crying for them. But let me tell you, I was reading this book and I was like thinking, I was like, oh, I have to be like basically drunk to read this book, or else I'm not gonna, like, I'll feel nothing, or I'll feel like I will feel all of the emotions. And so the other night when I was reading this book, I had 2 glasses of wine while reading this book, which is a mood, but above all moods. I was crying, so I was like freaking out, like, oh shit, like all this stuff's happening. And then the other day I finished it, and I finished it at 12:15 in the morning, and I literally had to sit there for a good hour, and I was like, holy shit, this series is over. And see, I'm already tearing up about it. Like, I'm not like ready to talk about it, but I have to. This series, holy shit. This was a great ending to it, but like at the same time, I wish like there's so much more that could have happened. Like in like another epilogue, she could have like wrote about like a certain character and their family. Which, if y'all read this book, y'all probably know what I'm talking about. But Kingdom of Ash, I think, was a great ending. It was emotional. It made me cry at certain points. I cried because it was over, and I cried because of the characters, and I cried because of like certain people. And yeah, fun story. When I was reading this on Monday, I was reading this, and I was reading it in a public space at school because I was waiting for my night class to start, and I almost started crying. So I literally had to like put it away because I was like, bro, I'm not crying in front of these people, hell no. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars just because it was such an emotional ending for me, because I've been following this series since my junior or senior year of high school, and when I found out about it, it was like, you know, a big thing, and then like I slowly started weaning off the Throne of Glass vibe, and then, you know, now I'm back because Kingdom of Ash is here and it's the end of the series. Yeah, I gave this 5 stars because it was just such an emotional read. I mean, I might end up going back and rereading this whole series and kind of like seeing the beginning to the end, and how like all the people, because like she invited a lot of people back from the other books that I just didn't remember. Like, I didn't remember who Gavril was or like anyone else, so I was like, I had to remember who this person is. I'm going to put this out there because y'all probably gonna want to know who my favorite character is. Maybe my favorite character is Chaol. He my boy, he my son, and if anyone tried to hurt him, I would have gone into the book and fought them, because Chaol is my fave. So that is my November wrap up and the discussion that I had at the beginning of this video for you guys. So my name is Olivia, you're on Bookish Nice channel, and I hope to see you soon with another video.